97 Roger, is the PR there?
Morning, everybody. It's been a few weeks, just a little over 3 weeks since I just did my last video on my story. And just a quick recap of what that was is I'd called it What We See. And that is what I did as a mental health exercise, let's say, in terms of documenting all the things that affected me over the course of my career, and then also all the things with respect to the collision and how that affected me, and not just physically, but also mentally. And so that was a necessary exercise that I decided to do in order to help me deal with some of the problems that I was having upstairs. And that was an excellent start, but really it was just the beginning of moving forward and getting better. Not curing, because some of the shit will always be up there in the old hard drive, but it was moving forward and keeping myself able to function through daily living by dealing with a lot of the nightmares, bad dreams, and anxiety issues that I was having that were all extremely new to me. So healing for me wasn't just a matter of getting more mobile, excuse me, gotta stop smoking, getting more mobile through physio and movement around home, but also taking the steps that I needed to take to look after myself mentally. And after having been at home for a few months, I knew that it was sort of getting reacclimated to everything and getting used to the new lifestyle and new routine. I knew that I needed help. And that is something that all too often, most of us, and not just cops, but first responders, paramedics, firefighters, I'm going to include nurses in that category, especially the ER ones, because we all see so much of the same shit just through a different lens or from a different angle. So I had to figure out, I had to pick the right person for me. And I forget how I managed to get in touch with this person. I think I'd found one place here in Winnipeg that dealt with trauma counseling and that sort of thing, but they weren't accessible. And at that time, and still now, I needed a place that I could get into by wheelchair. So then I was referred to another place, and I wanted to pick somebody outside of policing, and I'll get into that later. But I just didn't, even while in the hospital, this time there was just something that I didn't want to go to our psych services at the police service. And I don't know why, but I just felt I needed to go outside. And so I did, and wound up meeting someone who was a social worker, counselor, who had, I looked for someone who had training with respect to trauma and anxiety and depression. And for me, that was something that was really important. I wanted someone who had training and experience and education in treating others who were having issues like me. You always want to try to look for someone who has that kind of knowledge and background to work with you. You don't want to just go see someone who doesn't specialize in the issues that which you're having, because in my opinion, that's how they'll be able to help you the best, because they're geared towards helping the specific issues that you're having, and this person was. And having documented a lot of this stuff in what is effectively a memoir for me, that's a good exercise. So I'm working on things on my own. Huge first step, but sometimes you really need to get things off your chest and have somebody else, another perspective, hear what it is that you're going through, so that they can weigh in through experienced eyes, what's the best thing for you to do. And I want to say I saw this counselor for probably 10 to 12 sessions, and there's no real magic formula in terms of how often a person should go, and for how long. You just kind of have to find the right person that you trust, that you like, and you see them so long as they keep helping you. And that's what I did. One of the methods that was used, because it was called EMDR. So it's a type of therapy. Again, EMDR, Echo Mike Delta Romeo. Look it up, EMDR therapy. And it's a way that focuses on dealing with things like nightmares or bad dreams or bad memories in a very safe and calm environment. I won't do it justice if I explain it, so please have a look at that. So that way it'll at least explain that process that I went through, and if you're needing the similar sort of help, that might be the thing for you. And then look for a therapist, a counselor, with education and training in that background. And again, like I'd mentioned before, the worst things that had bothered me the most were focusing on 4 to 5 particular incidents involving kids, children and infants. Because I think for a lot of us, that's a commonality that we have. Those are the things that bother us the most, that fuck us up the most, that hurt the most, that we remember with such clarity, and they're so vivid and awful. So going and seeing someone and opening up and crying, sometimes bawling, as weak as that may seem, and as weak as that may feel, especially even to your former self, once you go and deal with it, it allowed me to just unload so much shit that I needed to unload, which didn't cure the issue, because I'm still having some different mental health issues, but it allowed me to function through daily life. I don't know how else to explain it, but it was crucial to me moving forward, and that is of utmost importance. And after a while, I kind of felt like I had run, our sessions had run their course, and I'd gotten to a point where I was able to put it out of my mind for a little while, and where things like panic attacks and nightmares had subsided a bit, and so I had improved. And that was over the course of several months, and but it was absolutely necessary in helping me keep going. As important as the physical therapy, but of course very different. And so I did that, and I think that, you know, most of us with the red stripe or yellow stripe on our pants, you know, that's not something that 10, 15 years ago, you just didn't fucking talk about it. You hid it, and you dealt with it through other means. We all know what those are. And for the most part, those things, booze or other things, you know, they sometimes work to suppress or block out whatever the issues are that you're having, but they're not a healthy or long-term solution. And then, of course, it can do more harm in some cases, leading to more physical ailments, but also to, you know, they can really exacerbate any mental health problems that you're having, because it's just not not healthy. And that was another thing that I and my wife and I, you know, had to fight for with the wonderful wonderful public insurance corporation that we have here in this province. But, you know, despite how hard that was, not getting approved initially for the travel or for those sessions, but that's what I had Blue Cross for, and you know, and that's what, you know, we had to pay for transport to and from, which we always fought for, but I never used the stress of fighting for it, or the difficulty of dealing, and the difficulty in dealing with the insurer. I didn't let that stop me. So yeah, that's why it's super important to be aware of what your coverage is with any work-related health insurance plans. And so here, you know, the majority of the people that I know have Blue Cross Extended Care, and that covers a percentage of those counseling sessions. So, you know, yeah, if you need it, take it, and fuck what anybody else thinks, because what matters most is taking good care of yourself, because we're the only ones who are going to do that. And it ain't weakness, it's strength, to look after yourself in all ways. And so life just continued on. And one of the things that I often think about before doing another video is, you know, what do I have to talk about? What do I keep talking about? Because there's only so many chapters. There were chapters throughout my career and life leading up to the collision, and the different chapters, and therefore video episodes of what I have to talk about. And it kind of gets to the point where, you know, every day is the same. I have an established routine now, and so I'm gonna kind of, because even though there were significant events in dealing with the insurer, and they're still going on, mediation, appeals, and all those things, you know, I'm just gonna kind of move forward, I guess, to where I am today. And so I stopped seeing that one counselor a long time ago, and then I eventually, because I was, you know, still having trouble sleeping at night, and still having trouble at times during the day, feeling extremely sad, and upset about certain things, and also really missing my sense of purpose, missing the job, missing going to work, missing having a profession to go to and do, and being around the people who I shared that with. So I really felt that I had lost a sense of identity and that I was disconnected. You know, those are just words, but they really manifest themselves for me as a huge part of my self-esteem and usefulness, which I was seriously lacking. Feeling that I had a purpose and that I was useful and that I was required and that I was needed, and because I was taken away from all that, I questioned my self-worth, and I still do to this day. Not every day, and it's not crippling, but you know, a few times a week for me is, I feel that way because I no longer am doing what I used to do, what I loved, what I enjoyed, being around some pretty fucking awesome people. I think that's a thing that if you talk to a lot of retired people, once they leave, that's when they have similar feelings as I just described that come creeping in, because you're no longer a part of that world anymore. And on top of everything else going on, the stress from fighting to get what I need, what we need here at home, it can be a lot. Sorry, brain farting here for a second. So, I'm not totally sure what I'm comfortable with sharing, because only a handful of people kind of know, super close people, what this lead video, this part of the story, my story, leads to for me. So I think I'm going to take some time and figure out how I'm going to get into that next episode on the next video that I do. But one of the things we hear as first responders, and all the times that we have to babysit 9906s or take people on Form 4s and 4-3s to the hospital, you know, oftentimes they're pretty serious issues, and sometimes they are people who, you know, are milking the system or abusing the system. And we're not always approaching things from the best perspective of, you know, trying to really figure out what's going on in there. And we don't always have to be open-minded about it, but when you gain a different perspective to understand some of those mental health act issues through your own personal experience, not that it necessarily gives you sympathy or empathy for those, but you understand what some of those genuinely hurting people may well be going through and what they need. And oftentimes people like that you wind up babysitting at the hospital, will tell you that they've been diagnosed with this or that or the other thing, some sort of trauma-related thing, and you know, I want to explain, because I've now been through it myself. For people who say they've been diagnosed with some form of anxiety or some form of post-traumatic stress disorder, you know, that's a formal process that takes several sessions. It varies for people, but several sessions from a educated and trained person who's capable, like a psychologist. And there's also some standardized testing that is done to determine if what you may have in terms of illness or mental health condition. It's you can't just tell someone that you have something, as we often hear. You have to actually go through this, I'll call it an interview and testing process. That's a very formal and very difficult and very painful. And so I'll just share that I have done that. And I've found someone here in town that their office and they themselves specialize in dealing with veterans, and first responders. And I am just so fucking lucky that I got a referral to this place, and that I found somebody who's extremely intelligent and experienced, and that I have now figured out what's wrong with me. Not that it's over, but that was something that is extremely hard to do. And the particular type of therapy is extremely hard to do. It's upsetting and it's exhausting. And but it gave validation to what we, family for the most part, mostly my wife and I, to what we thought was probably wrong with me or afflicting me. And it's okay to say it like that. It is, I don't want anything from it. I'm not trying to get anything from it. But now I know what the issue is, and therefore how to tackle it so that I can move forward. And we're a little bit past the 20-minute mark, and I'll get more into it in specific detail later. It's a pretty embarrassing and intimate subject matter, and it's hard to share. But again, these past few years, there's so many of us, first responders, that don't get the help that they need, and they then take it out on themselves, sometimes with catastrophic conclusions or results. And not that I think that I'm any kind of qualified counselor or therapist, because I'm not, and not that I think that I'm God's gift to first responders and their healing. But if one of you out there, to sound cheesy, sees this video and it helps point you in the right direction, well, then that's all that matters. So, until next time, if you're having a hard time, talk to somebody about it. Family, friends, co-workers. Seek out the resources that are available to you through your union, through your behavioral health units, or through whatever insurance you have through work. Don't ignore it. It ain't weakness, it's strength. Work on solutions that can help you function through your job or through your daily living. If it's emergent, call 911. If it's not emergent, but still serious and you don't know what to do, and you don't want to go through work, call 988. Never, ever, ever ignore it. because there are people who need you around and need you in the best shape that you can be. Take good care of yourselves. Love you, and we'll see you soon.